The Twins are about to welcome the Guardians for 4 games in a span of 3 days, and it promises to be a war, but possibly a war of attrition. We'll get into why that is because this is Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello again, and welcome back to Locked On Twins. I'm your host, Brandon Warren, and you can unfollow me on the tweets at Brandon_WARNE. Been watching the Twins for 3 decades, covering them for about half that long, and I am joined by Mr. Dave Brown across cyberspace, halfway across the country. Mr. Dave Brown, how are you? Talk to him, please.
Hey, Brandon. As you said, I'm Dave Brown. I've been in the Baseball Writers Association since 2012. Been writing about baseball since 98. One of my favorite Twins of all time is Houston Jimenez, just because he's got a funny name from like 1984. So that's where I'm at.
What a wonderful year 84 was until the end of it. But thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And of course, as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, we are your team every day. Love to hear from you in the comments, 5-star reviews on Apple Pods, Spotify, any sort of form that you can leave a review. We would love to hear from you. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. And you can catch every pitch of the Twins' hometown broadcast with Chris and Danny on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Twins. Appears as though for the doubleheader, we got a 1:10 first pitch and then a 7:10 first pitch. Bailey Ober against, we believe, Tristan McKenzie, and then Louis Varland against Alex Cobb, who will be coming off the 60-day IL to make his debut for Cleveland. And then the rest of the series depends on if Tanner Bybee can go, but it could be SWR against Gavin Williams and David Festa against Tanner Bybee. So promises to be a fun 4-game series, and we're going to talk about it right now. Dave, initially, what are your thoughts when you see these pitching matchups? Because obviously, yeah, Joe Ryan is up for question of when he'll pitch again next, and Pablo Lopez is the Twins' best starter in terms of, I think, how we view him over the last year plus. He's not pitching that great of late, or at least all year. But as far as matchups go, I think both of these teams are kind of showing where they are right now in terms of pushing through the dog days of summer pitching wise.
For sure. It's not how the Twins would have set things up if they had their druthers. You mentioned the war of attrition, and there's lots of attrition going on here with having to bring back Louis Varland. I saw a tweet though from Parker Hegeman about how Varland has been kind of redoing his fastball, and he's been much more effective with it, and he's going to have to be, of course. But over a recent series of starts, it's been much more of an effective pitch. So we're going to see. Hopefully, he'll be using that and staying away from home runs, and kind of being the guy that looked like he was going to be a helpful player in spring training. So, but it's not. And on the other side, you look at Alex Cobb coming in. How'd you like to be making your major league debut now after all this time, coming off an injury? That's who knows what they're going to get out of him on the Cleveland side. So it's very uncertain times, and it's too bad that the Twins don't have Correa, and we'll see about Byron Buxton. And it's strange times for both teams. The Guardians have probably been playing I don't know if they've been playing terrible, but they've been losing some games finally. And the Twins have been better, but it's not a great time for the series, but it's the time that we've been given.
Yeah, I think we may have lost you for a split second, but
Yeah.
basically, here's what I want to say about Varland, who so he goes back down and gives up. This is just an insane pitching line on June 23rd. 2 1/3 innings, 11 hits, 12 runs, but only 11 earned, 5 strikeouts, 5 home runs allowed, no walks. Do you know what the game score is on an outing like that?
6.
-6. I did not know game scores could be minus. That's how bad it was. Now, I mean, I don't care that much about game score, but he has made 6 appearances since then, and including shutting out the Iowa Cubs for 5 innings just 6 days later. He's made 6 appearances, all starts. He has thrown 30 1/3 innings, 35 strikeouts, 14 walks, a 193, 296, 294 slash against, and a 148 ERA, swinging strike rate at 12%. He's getting some grounders, which I think is probably a step in the right direction because let's see, 49% ground ball rate. His first trip in St. Paul, he was still pretty high, about 60%. So, I mean, we'll see. Basically, again, it's going to come down to home run suppression. He lives and dies by giving up the home run. He's facing a team that doesn't hit that many of them. So maybe that'll play into it. But at the end of the day, when you look at the numbers he has put together lately, how much does it matter to you, first of all, that he's been pretty good lately? And then second of all, do you think there's a chance this is kind of his last gasp as a major league starter before he gets moved to the bullpen as a, late inning, hopefully power reliever?
Well, I think that the latter thing has as much to do with how the rest of the Twins bullpen is shaking out. What's Brock Stewart's situation? When is what are we asking out of some of the other guys as well? I think that's kind of a key thing there. Like, how is Varland going to help the team? I think it could be still as a starter. Is it a last gasp? I think the Twins don't have. We are kind of running out of time here. It's we're almost in mid-August. You
Yep.
can't necessarily keep sending him out there if he's going to get lit up. I think it's safe to say that you want to see some progress here, and we have from some other pitchers. We've seen Festa kind of David Festa get going a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
there's still the situation too with Paddock. We're not sure what they're going to get from him exactly when he's going to be back.
Right.
Joe Ryan is sort of up in the air. So, on the one hand, you want to see some improvement from Varland. And on the other hand, you might have, even if it's not such a great performance, you might have to actually put him out there a couple more times. But I think they would like to see something better than what we've seen so far.
And so it could be tied to not only Brock Stewart, Justin Topa, but also Joe Ryan, who for that matter is it seems as though a triceps issue is probably among the best things he could get in terms of what it looked like when he walked off the mound. But, I think at the very minimum, he's missing a couple starts because if you put him on the IL, it's 15 days. So that's at least 2, probably 3 starts, especially with how the games are bunched up here coming up. So, yeah, it's as much as it wouldn't be great for Louis to come out and give up a couple homers to the Guardians. It's, it might be a situation like we kind of teased on Wednesday where he could be more medium term for the rotation than maybe you'd expect based on him being a 27th man in this appearance. Why don't we do this? No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't think we've heard back from Ryan on his MRI, but he was to get one Thursday, and that was sometime before when we were recording today. So haven't heard back on that. It is triceps. While it is an injury that is, it's good news in that it's not that forearm or elbow kind of a thing, the front of the arm, where you worry about long-term stuff. It still could be, if it's a serious grade injury, it could be a little longer than a couple of weeks too. So
Yeah.
I think it's good news overall, but it might not be great news for this season yet. So we'll wait and see what those results are.
Yeah, Bobby Nightingale tweeted it, but it was a Phil Miller exclusive, or at least a Phil Miller article. That there's optimism that Joe Ryan's triceps injury is too serious as they wait. With Derek Falvey saying it was triceps oriented and more muscle tightness than sudden pain. I'm no doctor. I don't even play one on TV, but that sounds vaguely optimistic. But let's take our break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about this Twins guard series. And then there's been some interesting things written on the Twins farm system in the last few days as well that we'll talk about. But again, first, we'll take a pause. You got to give some love to our friends at Game Time, the Game Time app, or if you got to use your desktop, you go to gametime.co. That's .co, and check them out. It's prime ticket season, whether you want to go to an MLB game, which I would prefer, NFL preseason, NFL regular season is not that far away. Before long, we'll be talking about NBA and college sports and NHL. Actually, NBA announced today that the Timberwolves are going to be playing on Christmas Day. I probably won't be going to that one, but hey, good place to look for tickets would be Game Time. One thing I am doing, though, is I'm going to Metallica next week, and you thumb through Game Time. It's a tough ticket, and if you're going to find the best deal anywhere, though, Game Time is going to be the place to do it. You have zone deals where you choose a section and Game Time chooses your seats. All in pricing tells you how much you're going to pay up front. None of that bait and switch on the back end like some of those other guys where they add a bunch of fees that you weren't expecting. You get a panoramic seat view, easy for me to say, from wherever you're going to sit. So you get a good idea of what it's going to look like with where you're looking at, whether it's home plate or a big screen or a stage. You will have a pretty great idea of what your seat's going to look like. And they do also have the lowest price guarantee, where if you find a cheaper price on that ticket elsewhere, they will give you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB, all one word, all lowercase, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Dave. Yeah, it's so the pitching matchups are, I don't know. I guess when you think of teams who have good years and you think of teams who go through some struggles, or like what a good year can still look like on the downside of things, I think the Twins and Guardians both typify that pretty well. Like, yeah, Carlos Correa, not expected to play in the series. Buxton, who knows? And neither team's got pitching that they would like to have, although granted, I think it's more just that the Guardians don't have the horses in the rotation. Tanner Bybee's their best guy when healthy, but he's dealing with some stuff. And so I don't know. I just think this is a good argument for, like, the season is long and you gotta battle, you gotta fight, and both of those teams are gonna do that. And with this series, I mean, it's what did you call it? Each game's a twofer. And so with a sweep, the Twins could be up half a game. They could be down 7.5. A split, they're back where they started. So to win 3 out of 4 seems like a monumental task. But in general, like, the change in the standings is still sometimes hard to do, because if you're back 3.5 and you lose a game, you got to make that one up and another one and another. Like, I don't know. Standings watching is so painful when you're behind, and maybe even more painful when you're ahead, especially if you're the Guardians watching the lead melt away. I don't know. I'm geeked for this series as much as I hope it goes well. I realize the Twins are 0-5 against the Guardians this year. So yeah, I just kind of word vomited my thoughts on you there, Dave.
Well, thank you very much. I'm gonna have to clean myself off. It wasn't that bad, Brandon. It was the series could go any number of different ways, though. I mean, it's not an ideal time for either team to be playing this series, but at some point, the Twins have to make progress against the Guardians. 0-5 is not going to cut it. Their record overall against winning teams is not going to cut it. They're going to need to, as good as the overall record is compared to the rest of the league, and it is, and sometimes we forget that, despite all the issues that they've had with health and other things not necessarily going their way. Uh, Now is the time for the Twins to get some traction and get close and claw their way as close as they can. I think a split. I mean, based on how the season's gone, I would expect a split. But
Yeah.
I think based on how I think the rest of the season could go, I think 3 out of 4 is a great jumping off point for the rest of the way for the Twins to have that season finally that we thought they would in spring training. So, even though these aren't great necessarily matchups with Ryan not being around and Pablo going in the next series
Yeah.
and lots of other things not necessarily going the Twins' way. As Rocco has said a few times, the time is now. Maybe the front office can't help them. Maybe some guys are hurt, but it's time for somebody to step up. I think this could be a series where, it's whose bullpen stops the bleeding. Which
Mhm.
offense, despite the Twins not necessarily having everyone in their lineup that they want, you know, are they going to have is it, the inconsistent offense? Is it going to be an upswing this time? So I think that's are they going to be able to outslug the Guardians in the first 5 innings and then shut them out the rest of the way? I think that's how it's going to have to go if the Twins are going to win 3 out of 4.
Yeah, for as good as the Guardians bullpen is, I think they're starting to show signs of wear, and that
Well,
bullpen is what that rotation needed to maintain where they've been to this point. They've been dropping games left and right, got swept by the Snakes. No tears being shed from my end, but I when I look at the comparison of how the teams are constructed right now, I still favor the Twins offensively. The rotations are, it's tough. It's really hard to say because the Twins are going to be a little down. Obviously, Pablo wasn't starting in this series anyway, and so you can't really count him. And so I don't know. Bullpens though, with where the Twins have been bullpen wise, I think I feel more confident in their sustainability down the stretch here the last 7 weeks or whatever it is the rest of the way. I don't know. Again, I've been bullish on the Twins to get back to even on this thing and then take the division outright. And they'll have a similar challenge with Kansas City coming to town afterwards. So 7 games in 6 days. Is it weird or bad to say that they should really hope to win 5 of those 7?
no, being at home, absolutely not. It's but just kind of based on how they've been able to surge ahead and then backtrack a little bit for the entire season. 4-3 seems the most likely outcome, but 5-2 would be nice, and that's going to be a big difference. And like I've said before, these games, there's they can get a game closer to them by winning the first game, and they can get 2 games closer by winning the second one. But they split them, and it's they're still kind of treading water in place. It's Royce Lewis is going to need to continue to hit well, and it's going to be imperative for Miranda maybe to get some
Yeah.
extra base hits and um, you
Kind
know
of a doubles machine lately.
yeah, absolutely. So without Correa and possibly Buxton, those are the guys that are going to have to lead the way. And I think you made a good point about the Guardians bullpen getting a little frayed, um, and it's the starting pitching for the most part has not been real good, other than Bybee, like you said. So that's a weakness. I mean,
Mhm.
the Twins can what what really I think they need to do is just put some real pressure on the Guardians. The Guardians have been living a good life here for 4 months or so, and I think that the Twins can uh, really make them sweat with a dominating performance at home. I think they're up for it. I think they're up for it.
As much as baseball isn't like this, I feel like a first inning punch him in the mouth home run, maybe a 3-run homer by Matt Wallner or something could really be what they need as a springboard. Again, I know, like you get so many people who tweet, "Oh, this one's over," and then the team still loses. You score 3 runs in the first and then don't score again. It's not how baseball works, but I think that would be good for vibes purposes. If you're honest with yourself, though, How many hitters do you really have to respect in this Guardians order right now? Because it's three. It's Steven Kwan, it's Jose Ramirez, it's Josh Naylor. Lane Thomas has a 455 OPS since joining them. He hits lefties well. Twins don't have any lefties in the rotation. No lefty candidates to make a start, nothing like that. So I don't know how much you have to care about him. And then David Fry, you want to play a fun game?
What's he up to?
So the phrase goes, never ask a woman their age, a man their salary, or David Fry what he's been hitting since May 1st. June 1st. Since his crazy May, he's played in 49 games, so 50 ostensibly with the doubleheader tomorrow. He is slashing 220, 285, 320 with 11 extra base hits in 49 games. So he has crashed back to earth in a manner that is befitting of a player who was a journeyman, quad A type player for all but 1 or 2 months of his career. Again, I'm not preying on his downfall, but he's just playing like David Fry now. And so you don't really have to respect him all that much compared to maybe how he was hitting when they happened the first time around. How about this? No, go ahead, and then we'll take a break.
I was just going to make some bad puns like fry cooked. And am I talking to Cy Louis right now? So it just I like but I like the bitterness and the you've been expecting a David Fry comeuppance, and it appears to be happening now. Watch him hit 3 home runs in the series.
Zach Meisel had his he had like a cry Louis meme when they were up by 9. I wonder if he wants to revisit that. I'm guessing
Cry
not.
Louis.
Cry Louis.
I don't even know if that's funny, but that's what I said.
I think the world of Zach Meisel, he's incredible what he does, but you never play in the dirt with pigs because both of you get to be in the pig likes it. So yeah. Anyway, let's take our last break, and then when we come back, we'll talk more about pigs or probably some other things. You can get your supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades. That's right. I'm talking about SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. And their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. So shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the game and talk to a real person every single time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining the SupplyHouse.com free TradeMaster program. Every TradeMaster gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every single order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their membership, free membership, I might add, at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Dave, I wanted to ask you, I initially had wanted to talk about prospects, and maybe we'll get to that on our next episode. But I want to continue with the Guardians Twins focus because there will probably be 2 games between these teams before we speak again, at the very least. So how much does it matter to you, the difference in these teams' complexions, trajectories now compared to when they played earlier in the season? Now, again, neither of these teams are the beacon of health or consistency. I think the Guardians are healthier. It's more an issue of really, what are they going to get out of Tristan McKenzie, who's been just disastrous. In fact, since going back down to AAA, 5 starts, 5.09 ERA, 11 strikeouts per 9, 7 walks per 9, a 1.65 whip. Kind of guy you should really dust up pretty good. If you were to kind of gauge your feelings of where the Twins are at now compared to where they were when they played before, do you feel better, worse, the same?
Well, when's the last time they play? I'm thinking of that series really early in the season. I thought the Twins were in a good spot when when the Guardians came to Minnesota that first time, and then they just didn't respond at all. So it's sort of hard to tell like what the recent past means.
Well, I mean,
I
the
thought
first series was April 4th, April 6th,
right.
April 7th, and that was when the Twins were kind of in the throes of their early season struggle. And
It kind of
in
started it. It seemed like to me
yeah,
like that really pushed them down,
so
and
what
maybe
perfect time to turn that around right now.
yeah, and pushed the Twins down, and maybe I mean that sort of gave the I think the Guardians went into the series with confidence. I think they if they never seem to lack that. They uh, even when especially when Francona was the manager, and I think Vogt's done a good job of kind of pivoting off that, and the Guardians definitely believe in themselves. So I don't
Yeah.
know that even a dominating series by the Twins. I think it's good. It would be good for the Twins. I don't necessarily think you're going to supply a knockout punch or get the Guardians reeling or anything like. I don't see them like falling back to 500 or something crazy like that. If the Twins would go in and sweep them, but I think it's the Twins' sake that they need to kind of take care of their own business. Sort of like how we've been saying. I mean, you can't sometimes the Guardians have played some games where it's been like, how are they doing this? And you look at the everybody's expected batting average and all that stuff, and they seem like the luckiest team in the world sometimes, and the umpires are their friends and that kind of thing. That's this is something the Twins can control. The Twins couldn't control all that stuff when the Guardians weren't playing them. It's it carpe diem. They need to seize the moment now, and I think will it's going to be a slog if it's a split, but I think there's still time for the Twins to have that great sterling record and a comfortable win in the AL Central if they can turn on the Jets here and do their own thing.
I wonder if we'll see any slippage as far as like Stephen Vogt being a rookie manager, because honestly, I don't know that we've seen that this year, and I don't know that we will. But this would be a time you would hope to be able to sort of flex your muscle if you're Rocco Baldelli in terms of mentally, out managing the other guy. And again, people say you get out coached, you out managed. I think a lot of that is largely, boo hockey, but it's I'll just be interested to see if Vogt pushes all the right buttons. Obviously, the bridge to Class A is a little more shaky than it's been in the past, and sometimes you got to massage that. I don't know if a rookie manager has that know-how. Now, again, it's also a rookie manager who is a catcher and is a great clubhouse guy, and so who knows? But I'm just curious to see what that looks like in probably the biggest series he's managed to date.
It would just be nice to see the Guardians being the ones feeling the pressure, and I think
Yeah.
the Twins are in a position to apply some of that. And I don't even know if there are mistakes to be made or anything like that, but at least get them on the run a little bit. And like you said, they haven't been playing their best ball. Most of their starting pitchers have been getting torched. Uh, the bullpen, while it's been terrific and the strength of the team, is a tad frayed when it comes to leading up to Class A. Uh,
Mhm.
for as good as those guys have been, Hunter Gaddis has been terrific, and so forth. And they've had lots of other guys
Nate
who've come
Smith.
through too. So, but it's even though they're not 100%, I think it's the Twins are still in a good position to apply some pressure themselves and kind of change the complexion in the last 6 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I agree. Are you of the before we get out of here, are you of the mind that anything less than 3 out of 4 is a failure, or is it basically this is still a big series, but there is still some time. They also have 4 games in Cleveland about a month from now, maybe
Right.
5 weeks from now. So it's not over, but I really think if you take fewer than 3 of the 4, it's hard to be like super geeked about it. That's just my opinion.
Just because of what I said before about how they haven't taken care of business against Cleveland, and they're still climbing an uphill battle against teams with a winning record. It's time to show some improvement there and some you know they've got to be able to play their best ball when they're not necessarily at their best. And sometimes the Twins have been able to do that, but doing it against Cleveland or one of the best teams in the league, they haven't shown that yet. it would be a new thing for the Guardians to do that. And I'm not going to say that I think it would show us that if they split, it's going to be like pulling teeth here the rest of the season, and it's going to be just as much of a kind of a fun but also dreadful at the same time. I don't know how the Twins sort of pull that off, but that's kind of how they make me feel watching them. So 3 out of 4 or a sweep. I mean, I wouldn't expect a sweep, but 3 out of 4 put some pressure on the Guardians for once.
Well, no draft talk tonight, prospect talk. We ran out of time, but I do have a message out to RM Layton of Just Baseball to talk about the Twins because he really likes that farm. I think he's got 6 Twins in his top 100. So that just was released on Thursday. We'll talk about that with him whenever we get a chance. By the way, thank you for making Locked On Twins your first listen today. But for your second listen, make sure you check out Paul Sullivan, on the Locked On MLB podcast. He's here to daily provide you national expertise with his trademark humor to help you get ready for the MLB playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day on Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. He's Dave Brown. I'm Brandon Warren, and I want to say thank you so much for hanging with us during our vacations. We are now back and ready to go for the stretch run. And Dave, thank you. And listeners, thank you. And everyone, thank you so much. That's a wrap. And we'll see ya
tomorrow night.